Please welcome Alex and John. Both are 3-star rated chefs from McAfee. They will show us different ways to cook a crab, the GandCrab ransomware-as-a-service. Please start your pots.
Well, thank you. We only have 25 minutes to cook some crab, so who likes crab here? Okay, great. We're dressed up for the occasion. I'm a horrible cook, so I look the part, but I'm not cooking the part. My name's John. I work with McAfee in the Advanced Threat Research team, and this is Alex.
My name is Alex. I work with John in McAfee in the APT team. This work was one work of 1 year, or more than 1 year with John.
Yeah, so we worked, we were actually writing the paper, and GandCrab called it quits. So we're like, damn, what are we going to talk about now? So we have a different presentation. No, I'm just joking. We would like to take you on our journey, what we did in the last year and a half, investigating GandCrab, and we did some interesting things. So what can you expect today in our kitchen? Well, first of all, I'm a horrible cook, so we got some help. So now and then you will see Gordon Ramsay taking the wheel, and he will teach us a good recipe. GandCrab has to be in season. So we'll show you the timeline when the attacks actually happened. Because, well, if you have crab out of season, it goes bad. Alex is going to talk a little bit about dissecting the crab. Because you need to know how to cook it and what are the juicy parts. And he has a special skill as our reverser. He can pull it apart, take it apart, and he'll find the right things. And he actually found a couple of vaccines, and he will talk about it. So the vaccines helped victims or customers or whatever. If you installed it, you wouldn't get encrypted with GandCrab. So if we know when the hunting season is, we need to learn how to hunt. And for that, we have some special help as well. And we hunted for a lot of crab. And if you have a lot of crab, you need to know how to cook it. And the funny thing is, our recipe also works for different kinds of crab. So you have snow crab, stone crab, all kinds of crab. It works for another one as well. The GandCrab hunting season. GandCrab started in a day before my birthday, actually. The 28th of January 2018, the first version was released. On the internet, I think David Montenegro posted a thing, and he discovered GandCrab. Our research is covering mostly version 4 to 5.2, but Alex was really quick, or no, actually this was the Romanian police in this case, with our industry peer Bitdefender. They were pretty quick with building a decryptor. They got some keys, built a decryptor. Well, hooray! The crab is solved. Well, no, the crab came back. Version 2. And they didn't stop. Version 3. And version 4 came out. And that's when they really pushed up and become more professional. We'll take you on a journey, and we found some indicators that were clear indicators of a ransomware ramping up and becoming more professional, more profound, and it became really interesting. But luckily, we have Alex, and he wrote a vaccine, because the way we saw GandCrab, they were trying to constantly fix their mistakes, the things that we in the room always found, and they were really agile. So we were always joking around that they probably have some kind of whiteboard with Post-its, and they're doing like the Scrum sessions every day. But agile development also, has some vulnerabilities sometimes, and you need to know where to exploit them. No half measures. Version 5 came out in September. Version 5.1 came out. And then they took a little break. But Alex didn't. We had a vaccine for 5.1. Luckily for us, law enforcement and the community kept on working, and a decryptor came out. So to help all the victims of GandCrab up till version 5.3 and 5.1. This was a godsend. A lot of people could get their files back for free. But it didn't stop them, because the decryptor came out, and 3 days later, there was version 5.2. Well, the decryptor doesn't work for 5.2. The vaccine did work. And eventually, it went quiet. They came back a little bit, and as many of you might know, the 31st of May, 2019, we got that big retirement message, like, hey, we made a ton of money, we're big and fat, and we'll sit on the Black Sea in our nice yacht and call it quits. And for us too, we were like, there's something else going on, but we'll show you later. And eventually, there wasn't a decryptor for 5.2. eventually a decryptor, with the help of No More Ransom, a decryptor came out and everybody could get their files back for free who hasn't paid yet. So Alex, can you tell a little bit about how you dissect a crab?
I will talk about the technical details about the GandCrab, the most important characteristics one have. The first one is I will focus in the version 4 until 5.2 because in the last year I was the most spread versions and this year because the all more orders is used to talk about that. And another important point is the GandCrab. This means in Russian that you now speak Russian. Is this because GandCrab in the 4 version have this special code as another ransomware that try to detect these countries based in the language. Have Russian, the first one, Ukrainian, and later have Moldovan, but based in Romanian and Russian too. It is a screenshot the version 4, but later GandCrab in the version 5 put the Syrian language in an Arabic language because one person requests them a petition in Twitter saying, I lost my family, so please give the keys, and they give for a marketing move, I think, for them. So finally, they give and put, say sorry, and put the Syrian language in the 5 version. Later, GandCrab used Salsa 20 against AES that used in the first versions because besides AES use the special instructions in the CPUs, but they prefer use Salsa 20 because it's very quickly, very small, and open source, and have a lot of implementation, and can use in 30 bits and 16 bits. So they use the 31 and perfectly, so without any mistake. And don't exist any exploit against this algorithm that the people know. So for them, it was perfect. Another thing that GandCrab make is skipping the following list of the extensions, as usual in another ransomware too, but have the previous GandCrab, the previous version of the GandCrab, but have 2 important extensions. Zero Phase, I like your pictures, is a mocking for another malware researcher that calls Zero Phase. So, and the another one is very important is .lock. .lock is very important. And
where do we see .lock again?
Sodinokibi.
Where do we see .lock? Sodinokibi, you said?
Yes. Oh. Yes. It is because it's very important, this extension, because one vaccine that I make it is based in this extension. GandCrab don't keep files in one special folders. The first one in the list, program data, it is cache, boot, program files, store browser, all user, local settings. Windows is hard-coded inside, but another ones add using special APIs of HLWAPI.dll. So they try avoid these folders because they don't want to destroy the machine. They want that the ransom works, create the files, and request the ransom. So they don't want to protect your machine, only that they want the money. And later, the malware keeps files in all folders that he can find that follow not have the blacklisted extensions, and change the extension, they keep the file with crab in the first version and 4 version, but in the last version they change that and say that have a random extension between 5 or 10 characters to make more complex. They, of course, delete the volume shadow copies using, depend on the operating system. Windows XP use the UBCC admin, and in Windows Vista or Upper, they use WLMIC with the shadow copy class. It is because in Windows XP don't exist shadow copy class. So they make this, and in all systems, they delete that. Send information to the victim machine in a hard-coded list of domains that have inside. I make it 6-pack themes in all times, 6-pack themes. But the most important one was one that I discovered in a mistake that GandCrab developers have in the design of the ransomware, because they make some registry entries that later they don't use for nothing, absolutely for nothing, and I reversing the official decryptor too, and they don't use for nothing. So it's the same information that they have in the ransom node, but instead we crypted and later in base 64 is only crypted. So I look the code and see that if you make this registry key with dummy information or empty, the GandCrab don't crypt any file. Only change the wallpaper, it change the wallpaper with a mistake because don't have ransom node, and nothing more. So this vaccine works at least 6 months. 6 months, they know that it exists, but they don't change because I think that they don't care at the beginning. But later, as they make a fix of the code, finally they fix that. But I have another that works. And another vaccine was in the version 5. They make, GandCrab developers make a lot of crazy things.
Yeah, if you can read it up there, that's it's a kind of rude abbreviation of a other AV company. They mock it, and they made it Anal Lab instead of AnLabs. Yeah. But in their emotion of mocking somebody, they did make a mistake, and we were able to exploit that.
Exactly. They make a window, hidden window that say this name, that then they will say here, AnLab. You can see in the book. I discovered this, and in 5 minutes I make a vaccine against that. Because it's very easy. Look this class in all process, and look this, and later get the bit of the process and terminate the process. So in 5 minutes I make a vaccine. Another vaccine was because they make another mistake. They instead use mutex, uses a persistent atom. Because the atom, if you make it global, is persistent in the machine. So they made that, and later, when another sample of GandCrab try run, don't crypt nothing because was previously infected. So they make this big mistake. So I looked at and put in my vaccine. And of course, they only need 1 day to fix that because they say don't have infection. So something happens. So, and later mutex, they change I make with the mutants, they try to change the mutants sometimes, but I always change the mutants, attract them, so it was a fight again. So finally they surrender. And it is the information that's sent to the CD. Sometimes is the PC user, that is the name of the user logged and infected. The PC name is the name of the machine. Group is you are in a domain, the name of the domain, or if not, workgroup. EU is the name of the antivirus product that you have in your machine. If you have, this empty, this field. PCLAN is the name of the language, name, not the value, name of the language or language that you have in your machine. And later, PCKB is the number of the language, the main language that you have in your machine, the number. For this, it's very important that. To avoid the law. So Osmeyer is the name of the operating system, Osbit the type 32 or 64, ransom ID is a unique value that they calculate in the machine. Later they put in his database, and now this information to who belongs, the keys to who belongs, and keep all in his database. And HDD is information about the logic units, is the logic unit letter and the type. Fixed, removable, and finally IP. If they can get you IP, they will have in this field, not empty. And another one is a little sample that you have in the ransom node, crypted and encoded in base 64. Okay, with this information and more information about the victim.
So they weren't only hard-coded values, they sent stuff out to from the victim side, but what they also left on the system, and what we believe is an essential growth factor or an indicator that a ransomware-as-a-service campaign, because that's what we're talking about, so where the developers build something and they open up their system to people who spread, is hard-coded IDs. It's like an ID number. And what we were looking at was these IDs are an indicator that they want to keep a tight administration. And keeping a tight administration is important because then you can pay out your partners. So you have to look at it as more of a business instead of, cybercrime. It's a good cybercriminal business. So we saw in all these samples that which we investigated, we saw an ID number. And together with that, we eventually figured out, that must be the affiliate ID number. We had a sub-ID number and a version number. And the version number was hard-coded in the value in the ransomware. So GandCrab built this in order to keep track of all the infections of his partners so he could pay out the right amount to his affiliates. And for us, that's interesting, because a lot of these systems, as-a-service systems, are built on trust. And trust is always lost when money is not being paid. So it's really essential for him to track this. Another thing that we saw in version 5 was that they were partnering up with adjacent cybercriminal services. They were setting up a tender for an exploit kit to get more infections. Well, Fallout won the tender. They used a crypto service that advertised as well. And that was all to service their own affiliates to say like, hey, if you want to obfuscate your sample, use this crypto service, you'll get a discount because we're partnered with them. If you want to use an exploit kit, use this one because you can get an extra service and you can get extra infections. So, let's see, it's a little bit slow. We found these indicators and we were like, wait a second, are these all the same in all the samples, or can we go out and hunt for a lot of crab and see if there's any differences? So we wanted to go hunting. And luckily we have Gordon Ramsay to help us out with the hunt, because we had to figure it out. So he's going to show us the way.
And they're coming to get us. It's the invasion of the monster GandCrab. These brief streets go up to 6 foot wide, and they have no natural predators, so it's going to want to bring their invasion under control.
Thanks, Gordon. We have a different net though. We went out fishing with Yara, and that was our net to cast as many samples as we could. Eventually we got over 300 to 400 different samples. We did a publication yesterday on Sonokibi in the overlap with GandCrab. If you look on our GitHub site, you can see the complete overview. That's one thing, and we got this whole list, but how can you pull all the hard-coded samples? Well, Alex built a nice custom tool, which you also share with the law enforcement community, to pull those indicators from the samples. And now we're stuck with this giant pile of crab, but how do you cook it? So we hunted it. So how do we cook a good crab? Pay attention.
Salt the water, bring that up to the bowl, grab it, and in she goes. 15 minutes. Undercooked with salt.
That was one recipe. Eventually what we did, we found a way, and we were starting to aggregate affiliate IDs. So if you do that, you can, based on the affiliate IDs, you can see the prevalence within the versions. So in this case, if you can read it, it's version affiliate ID number 41. I'll leave it a his or hers, that's not to be decided. But this person was around from version 4.1.1 all the way to version 5.1. And it had sub-IDs, and that, we believe that it could either be a sub-campaign, or it could be that he is renting out his infrastructure or his ability to infect people to other people as well. This was a relatively quite active affiliate at that time. Every sub-ID links to several samples as well. And there's an interesting relationship, because there's a parent-child relationship. There's only one ID, can have several sub-ID, but every sub-ID has only one ID. And what we saw is increment over time. So when we started our research, we saw the IDs at a lower rate, and during our research all the way to the end, we saw the number increment over time, but at the same time we saw certain ID numbers, lower numbers, appear at the end as well. And that could be an indicator of somebody who's been successful early on, is in the spreading of the ransomware service model, and then is still successful. Actually, we also found what we believe security researchers. Those are the ones who try to be an affiliate. They get one sample and they upload it to VirusTotal, and there's no infections on our backend, so I won't tell. But what do you get if you mix all the ingredients together? So this is an overview of the whole list. I don't have my reading glasses, so you can zoom in. And you can see certain structures appear. And what this allows us is to determine who is the most effective or the most successful affiliate, because he has the biggest line and the biggest threat. That can help, if we give this information to law enforcement, determine who would be a top target. For us as a security industry, it would be interesting to see, well, these affiliates cause the most harm because we can link it to our own infections on the back end, and we can prioritize this. We can then look at, okay, how does this affiliate spread, and are there any alternative methods that we can, well, disrupt that method? And it shows you in a business model, just like a company, if you have a salesperson in your company, and the most successful salespeople bring in the most cash to the whole organization. So if you can take out those specific people, the system will collapse. And it did. But first I want to show you Mr. 99, or Miss 99, let's keep it neutral. In our investigation, we found this the most active ransomware affiliate. The most samples were attributed to 99, and he has an interesting, or there was an interesting pattern, because there's a sub-ID, sometimes one, but also a one-to-many relationship. And we're still researching what this is. We can compare it to Sonokibi, and we think that there's a high indication, we still have to research this thoroughly, that the pattern like this, and we have it from our honeypots as well, could be linked to RDP brute forcing attacks, where he rented out his ability to a separate crew. They go in and they try to brute force as many systems as possible. They request a sample, so like, hey, I got another system, I need a sample, and he will request a sample and send it out. Versus maybe, and that's still a theory, an MSP attack could be, well, I can infect hundreds or thousands of computers with only one sample, so you won't get that same structure. But I was saying, we found the biggest affiliates from the data. The other ones were 15, 41, and 170. But this party ended in May. But the funny thing is, in February, with the last version of GandCrab, we didn't see the last affiliates. They were gone. So they had left the party already. So 99 was gone. 99 was gone with his friends, 15, 41, and 170. So did they go to another party? Or were they ready to go to bed? Did they retire? And that makes us wonder. It's like, if you're really successful and you can earn a lot of cash by doing stuff, why would you retire? And that goes for the whole system as well. But we're still wondering in February, and then when the retirement notice came out, we were like, oh, okay, that's interesting. We'll see that they're quitting, but that the main salespeople were not present in the last version, that might be an indicator that there's something going on in the system. And we saw this in February. So now we try our recipe on a different RAS. This was the other one, the one we already know. And we did the same thing with Sonokibi. Sonokibi works a little bit different, so unfortunately the tool didn't work. But I think our friends at Carbon Black built an amazing Python script, and Alex as well. The config that is loaded when you get infected with Sonokibi has a JSON file, and it also has indicators. And when we link those indicators as well, you see quite a similarity. And we believe that, and we have strong indication that some of the top actors actually moved from GandCrab to Sonokibi early on. So our hunch is, they didn't left the party to go to bed. They left the party to go to a different party, the after party. One of the indicators is this. There's a posting on exploit. The user unknown, that's now, if you look at the publication on Bleeping and Brian Krebs, is posting a unnamed ransomware scheme, but the message below is Lalartu. He is one of the top affiliates from GandCrab, and he actually states, I used to work with GandCrab, and I now work with them. So it's interesting, he made a move. So is Lalartu one of those big players that moved to the after party? We will reveal it in all good time, but for now we keep it a secret. Alex, you tricked some guys, huh?
Yeah, I tricked one time to the GandCrab people. I will explain this very quickly. In one trip that I made to Moscow, I was with 3Ms. In Twitter, in a private way, a man from India sent me that need my help. He have his ransom note and some files, and say me, please, if you can make something. And with a friend, I say, okay, I will enter in the ransom page, and my friend will talk with them. My friend, as was Russian, starting talking with them in Russian. And GandCrab people or affiliate was very surprised that somebody speaks perfectly Russian, because they are not usual for that, because have code to avoid that. So was very surprised and said, okay, if you show some picture of Moscow that don't exist anywhere, okay, we will use a free decryptor. And I go to the street and make some pictures with my mobile of Moscow and say to them. And finally they look and check that don't exist in internet and say finally, sorry, and give us the free decryptor. So I give to this man, and this man will happy, and GandCrab people was fooled.
So, let me summarize real quick the things we've learned while doing our cooking show. Agile malware coding has a higher chance of exploitable mistakes. So like Alex explained with his vaccine, the agility to respond to all these things very quickly does have a nature that there's not a lot of code review, or the code review and there's mistakes. So it does open an opportunity, and that's something that we can do as a community as well, to find those vaccines, and maybe through the Cyber Threat Alliance, or we have some kind of sharing method, employ that in our endpoints, or get the word out that we can protect people. One of the things we learned as approaching this, ransomware as a service, especially if it reaches a certain level of professionalism and maturity, look at it as a business. And just like the IRS is going down on a regular business and they want to get the books, go for the books, go for the administration. Try to link stuff in the samples to, for instance, if you work with law enforcement, a C2 server, and try to match it up. The hard-coded ID analysis gave us a way to see who is the most prevalent key affiliate in the system. It gives us early insights of something that's going on. And it shows us potential disruption targets. If you take the big ones out, it will collapse, or something will happen. It could provide distribution insights. So maybe there's a group that's doing RDP brute force hacking, and you can match it all together. And one of the important things as well, there's a chain of custody. So we, as a security provider, we have samples, and we can link those samples probably from victims all the way to the affiliate. And the time when ransomware was only $100 or $1,000, that's long gone. If you have the bigger cases, like Ryuk or Sonokibi, it's essential eventually, when it does come to an arrest, to link that all the way from the victim to the right affiliate, because otherwise you don't have a case. And it is up to us as a security industry to go one step further in our analysis. Not only reverse engineer a sample, but look at it as a business, see it as a whole. We have all the samples. We have more samples. And law enforcement, in this case, that's one of the partners you can work with, doesn't always have that option. They don't have access to all the samples that we have. And they're faced with resources. So if you can point them in the right direction, we're faced with the same problem. So for now, I would like to wish you bon appetit. And remember, 15 minutes, because otherwise your crab is raw. Thank you.
Thank you.